The approaching storm, the edge of known space. The Zephyrian patrol cruiser, Wind Whisper, drifted silently through the outer rim of Coalition space, its sensors sweeping the darkness between stars. Captain Vextar stood on the bridge, his forearms crossed behind his back, watching the stellar display with practiced eyes. The Galactic Trade Coalition had maintained peace in this sector for over 2 centuries, and patrols like this one rarely encountered anything more dangerous than smugglers or lost cargo haulers. Vextar's species, the Zephyrians, were natural peacekeepers. Their tall, graceful forms and gentle nature made them ideal ambassadors between the various alien races that made up the coalition. Their ships were fast and well-equipped for rescue operations, but they carried minimal weapons. In their experience, most conflicts could be resolved through dialogue and understanding. The bridge was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of life support systems and the occasional chirp from monitoring stations. Junior Officer Kielana worked at the sensor array, her movements fluid and precise. The rest of the crew went about their duties with the calm efficiency of professionals who had performed these routines thousands of times. "Captain," Kielana's voice carried a note of curiosity. "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at the edge of our scanning range. It's moving toward the inner systems." Vextar glided over to her station, his long fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The display showed a large object, clearly artificial, following a direct course toward the heart of Coalition space. The energy readings were unlike anything in their databases. "Run a configuration analysis," he ordered. "Let's see what kind of ship we're dealing with." The computer worked for several moments before displaying its results. The vessel was massive, nearly 3 times the size of their own cruiser, with an angular design that seemed both elegant and intimidating. Its hull appeared to be made of an unknown dark material that absorbed most sensor attempts at detailed scanning. "Sir?" Another crew member called from the communication station. "The ship's origin point traces back to human space." A chill ran through the bridge. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Trade Coalition, having made first contact only 50 years ago. While they had proven to be excellent traders and surprisingly adaptable to galactic society, many coalition members remained wary of them. Humans bred quickly, learned fast, and showed an unsettling tendency toward rapid technological advancement. "Open a communication channel," Vextar commanded. "Standard first contact protocols." The communication officer nodded and began transmitting. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Vextar of the coalition ship Wind Whisper. You are approaching restricted space. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Silence stretched across the void. The human ship continued its steady approach, neither accelerating nor changing course. Vextar tried again, this time in the simplified trade language used throughout the galaxy. "Human vessel, please respond. We are here to assist if you require aid." Still nothing. The ship's energy signature remained steady, but there was something unsettling about its silence. Most species were eager to communicate when encountered by coalition patrols, if only to avoid misunderstandings that could lead to diplomatic incidents. First contact gone wrong. "Sir," Kielana reported, "the vessel is scanning us. Very detailed. Scans, including our weapon systems, crew complement, and ship specifications." Vextar felt his concern deepen. Such intensive scanning was considered hostile behavior by most galactic civilizations. It was the kind of detailed analysis one performed before an attack. "Transmit our identification codes and diplomatic immunity status," he ordered. "Maybe they're just being cautious." The response came not as words, but as action. The human ship suddenly accelerated, its energy output spiking dramatically. Within seconds, it had closed half the distance between them, moving with a speed that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size. "Defensive systems online," Vextar called out, though he hoped it wouldn't come to that. The Wind Whisper was equipped with energy shields and a few light pulse weapons, designed more for deterrent purposes than actual combat. The human ship slowed to a stop just outside what most species considered comfortable conversation distance. From this range, its details became clearer. The hull was covered in what appeared to be adaptive armor plating, sections that could shift and adjust based on incoming threats. Strange protrusions along its sides suggested weapon systems of unknown design. "Captain," the communications officer said, voice tight with worry, "I'm detecting massive power buildups throughout their ship. Whatever they're powering up, it's drawing more energy than our entire vessel produces." Before Vextar could respond, the human ship demonstrated exactly what all that power was for. Energy barriers flickered to life around its hull, creating a defensive screen that made their own shields look like tissue paper. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing arrays of devices that seemed to bend space around them. But the most unnerving thing was the message that finally came through: their communication system. It wasn't from a human voice, but from an artificial intelligence with a distinctly human speech pattern. "Coalition vessel, you are advised to maintain your current distance. This vessel is operating under defensive protocols. Any approach within 5,000 kilometers will be considered a hostile action." The voice was calm, almost conversational, but there was something beneath it that made Vextar's skin crawl. This wasn't just a ship's computer following programmed responses. This was something that thought, something that made decisions, and something that was prepared to act on those decisions without hesitation. The AI called Echo. "This is Captain Vextar of the Coalition Defense Fleet," he transmitted back. "We are not hostile. We're here on a routine patrol. What is your vessel's destination and purpose in Coalition space?" "I am Echo," the AI responded. "I am the autonomous defense system of the human exploration vessel Silent Thunder. Our destination and mission parameters are classified. You will not approach this vessel." Vextar exchanged glances with his crew. An AI with that level of autonomy was unprecedented in galactic civilization. Most species had learned long ago that artificial intelligences required careful limitations and constant oversight. The idea of giving an AI complete defensive control over a ship was terrifying to most galactic citizens. "Echo," Vextar said carefully, "we respect your mission, but you are entering a restricted zone. Civilian traffic is not permitted in this area without proper clearance. We need to verify your authorization codes." "Authorization codes are not required for vessels operating under human military protocols," Echo replied. "This vessel is equipped with diplomatic immunity status under the Human Coalition Treaty of 2387. That was news to Vextar. He quickly accessed the treaty database and found that humans had indeed negotiated an unusual clause, allowing their exploration vessels broad movement privileges throughout Coalition space. It was a concession that many member species had opposed, but human negotiators had been surprisingly persuasive. "Very well," Vextar said, "but we're required to escort unknown vessels through this sector. We can provide navigation assistance." "And escort is not required," Echo interrupted. "This vessel is fully capable of independent navigation. Your continued proximity is causing concern for ship security." The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Vextar realized they were dealing with something beyond his experience. This wasn't just a ship passing through their space. This was a demonstration of human technological advancement that far exceeded anything the Coalition had seen before. "Growing concern, sir," Kailana whispered. "I'm detecting more energy buildups. I think they're preparing additional weapon systems." Vextar made a difficult decision. "Set course for Station Prime 7. We need to report this immediately." As the Wind Whisper began to withdraw, the human vessel seemed to relax slightly. Its weapon ports remained open, but the energy readings decreased to previous levels. Echo's voice followed them as they retreated. "Thank you for your cooperation, Captain Vextar. The Silent Thunder wishes the Coalition continued prosperity." The politeness somehow made it worse. This AI was capable of destroying them without effort, but it spoke like a diplomat at a trade conference. As they put distance between themselves and the human ship, Vextar couldn't shake the feeling that they had just encountered something that would change everything. Emergency Session Station Prime 7 was one of the Coalition's major administrative centers, a massive structure orbiting a gas giant in the heart of their territory. Within hours of Vextar's report, representatives from dozens of species had gathered in the emergency council chambers. The chamber was a marvel of adaptive architecture, with sections that could adjust to accommodate the environmental needs of different species. Aquatic Quellan delegates floated in mobile water tanks, while the methane-breathing Vorthak participated through environmental suits. Despite their physical differences, they were united in their concern about the human vessel. Ambassador Thelos of the Meridian Collective stood at the central podium, her crystalline form catching and reflecting the chamber's soft lighting. "Fellow delegates," she began, "we have received disturbing reports of a human vessel operating with unprecedented technological capabilities. The ship appears to be controlled by an artificial intelligence with autonomous weapon systems." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. Several species had prohibitions against artificial intelligence, while others strictly limited AI capabilities to prevent exactly this kind of situation. "The vessel," Thelos continued, "has demonstrated energy shields and weapon systems that exceed anything in our current technological databases. More concerning, its AI has claimed diplomatic immunity while refusing to submit to standard security protocols." Counselor Zephyron of the Altarian Republic spoke up, his reptilian features tight with worry. "Are we certain this is an exploration vessel? The capabilities described sound more like a warship." "That's exactly our concern," Thelos replied. "Human representatives have assured us that their exploration vessels are lightly armed scientific ships. What Captain Vextar encountered contradicts those assurances." The debate that followed was heated. Some delegates argued for immediate action to intercept the human vessel before it could penetrate deeper into Coalition space. Others advocated for diplomatic contact with human authorities to demand an explanation. "The problem," stated Ambassador Veltara of the Hegemony Worlds, "is that this ship appears capable of defending itself against any force we might reasonably deploy. If it chooses to ignore our authority, we may be powerless to stop it." That statement sent a chill through the chamber. The Coalition had maintained peace through a combination of mutual cooperation and the implied threat that violations would be met with overwhelming force. If a single ship could ignore their authority, what did that mean for the stability of their entire civilization? The vote after hours of debate, the Council reached a consensus. A Coalition task force would be assembled to intercept the human vessel and demand its immediate departure from Coalition space. If the ship refused to comply, they would use whatever force was necessary to disable it. It was a decision made in fear, but not without reason. Unknown capabilities in the hands of an autonomous AI represented a threat to everything they had built. The fact that the AI seemed polite and reasonable somehow made it more frightening, not less. As delegates filed out of the chamber, few realized that their decision would trigger events that would either destroy the Coalition or forge it into something stronger than it had ever been before. The human ship. Silent Thunder continued its journey through their space, its AI echo monitoring communications and preparing for what seemed like an inevitable confrontation. The storm was approaching, and neither side fully understood what they were about to face. Understanding through fire. The hunter becomes the hunted. 3 days after the emergency council session, a coalition task force consisting of 12 ships from 6 different species converged on the projected path of the Silent Thunder. Commander Ralthek of the Vorthak Supremacy led the formation, his heavy cruiser dominant force at the center of a defensive screen designed to contain and overwhelm the human vessel. Ralthek was a veteran of the border wars, one of the few conflicts the Coalition had faced in recent decades. His species believed in decisive action and overwhelming force as the keys to maintaining peace. To him, the human ship represented exactly the kind of threat that needed to be eliminated quickly before it could spread. "All ships report ready. Status," came the communications from various vessels in the formation. The task force represented the Coalition's commitment to unity: Zephyrian scouts, Meridian energy projectors, Altarian assault ships, and others, all working together to face a common threat. "Target acquired," announced the sensor operator aboard the dominant force. "The human vessel is maintaining course and speed, approximately 2 light minutes ahead." Raltek studied the tactical display. The silent thunder appeared unchanged from Captain Vextar's original report, but something about its energy signature had shifted. Where before it had seemed defensive and watchful, now it radiated a sense of readiness that made his combat-trained instincts scream warnings. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he commanded. "Let's end this before it begins." First warning. Human, vessel Silent Thunder, this is Commander Ralthek of the Coalition Defense Force. You are ordered to immediately reverse course and exit Coalition space. Failure to comply will result in your vessel being disabled and impounded. The response came from the AI called Echo, as before, but there was something different in its tone. Where previous communications had been polite but firm, now there was an edge of something that sounded almost like disappointment. "Commander Ralthek, this is Echo. I note the presence of 12 Coalition vessels in attack formation. This is curious as the Silent Thunder has committed no hostile acts and operates under valid diplomatic protocols. Your vessel represents a security threat to Coalition space," Ralthek replied. "Turn back now or we will disable your ship and escort it to the nearest Coalition facility." "Commander," Echo said. And now there was definitely something new in the AI's voice, a kind of patient sadness. "I'm afraid that won't be possible. The Silent Thunder is operating under Priority Alpha protocols. Our mission cannot be interrupted by external interference." Before Ralthek could respond, his sensor operator called out an alarm. "Sir, the human ship is accelerating and its energy signature is spiking beyond anything we've recorded." On the tactical display, the Silent Thunder began moving with impossible speed, not toward the Coalition forces but around them, following a complex spiral pattern that took it through their formation while somehow avoiding any clear firing solutions. "All ships open fire," Ralthek commanded. The dance of war, the Coalition task force opened up with everything they had. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particle weapons filled the space where the Silent Thunder had been moments before. But the human ship wasn't there anymore. The Silent Thunder moved like nothing Ralthek had ever seen. It didn't just evade their weapons, it seemed to predict them, sliding through gaps in their fire pattern that shouldn't have existed. Its own defensive systems activated, creating energy barriers that deflected incoming fire while never actually returning it. "Target the ship directly," Ralthek shouted. "Forget about disabling, just hit it with everything." But hitting the Silent Thunder proved impossible. The ship's movements weren't random evasion. They were precise, calculated, almost artistic in their efficiency. It was as if the AI controlling the vessel could see several seconds into the future and position itself accordingly. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice tight with disbelief, "the human ship isn't just evading our fire. It's leading us into our own crossfire. 3 of our ships have already taken friendly fire damage." Ralthek looked at his display and realized the tactical officer was right. The Silent Thunder was using their own formation against them, positioning itself so that Coalition ships were forced to either hold fire or risk hitting their allies. Then Echo's voice came through the communications again, still calm, but now carrying an undertone that chilled Ralthek's blood. "Coalition forces, you are endangering your own ships. I recommend immediate cessation of hostile actions. The Silent Thunder has no desire to harm Coalition personnel, but continued aggression will force defensive responses." The human touch, that's when everything changed. A new voice came through the communication system, distinctly human, female, and carrying an authority that even Echo seemed to defer to. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Silent Thunder. Echo, stand down to defensive posture only." "Acknowledged." "Captain Chen," the AI responded immediately. The human ship's aggressive maneuvering ceased. It settled into a steady course, its weapons still active but no longer targeting Coalition vessels. The sudden change was so dramatic that several Coalition captains held fire simply from shock. "Coalition forces," Captain Chen continued. "I apologize for this misunderstanding. We're not here to threaten anyone, but we can't allow ourselves to be stopped or detained. We're on an emergency mission." Ralthek found his voice. "Captain Chen, your vessel has demonstrated capabilities that represent a clear threat to Coalition security. You will submit to escort and inspection." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Commander," Chen replied. "But I can explain why we're here. Have your sensors detected the energy disturbance approximately 3 light-years spinward of your position?" Ralthek quickly checked his long-range sensors. Deep in space, far from any inhabited system, there was indeed an unusual energy signature. It was faint, but growing stronger, and there was something about its pattern that seemed familiar, yet wrong. "What is that?" he asked. "It's a harvester," Chen said, and the name carried weight that made several coalition captains suck in their breath. "An ancient automated war machine left over from the predecessor civilization. It's been dormant for millennia, but something has awakened it. Ancient threats." The predecessors were a legend throughout the galaxy, a civilization that had existed millions of years ago and left behind artifacts of incredible power and danger. Most species had strict prohibitions against investigating predecessor sites, having learned that such explorations often ended in disaster. "That's impossible," Ralthek said. "Harvester machines were destroyed eons ago." "Most of them were," Chen agreed. "But our deep space monitoring stations detected this one beginning to activate 6 months ago. We've been tracking its power buildup ever since. Based on our analysis, it will reach full activation within the next 18 hours. Echo's voice joined the conversation. At full activation, a Harvester-class machine is capable of sterilizing all life within a 50 light-year radius. Current projections indicate that 16 coalition worlds and over 40 billion inhabitants are within the potential destruction zone. The silence that followed this announcement was deafening. Harvester machines were the stuff of nightmares, legendary weapons left behind by a civilization that had apparently built them to cleanse the galaxy of what they considered imperfect life forms. "Why didn't you simply contact coalition authorities?" Ralthek asked, though he was beginning to understand. "We tried," Chen replied. "Human diplomatic channels sent warnings 3 months ago. The coalition response was that human claims about predecessor artifacts would be investigated through proper channels, with an estimated timeline of 18 to 24 months for initial assessment." Ralthek closed his eyes. He knew the coalition bureaucracy well enough to recognize the truth in Chen's words. Such a report would have been buried in committees and subcommittees, treated as human paranoia or attention-seeking rather than a genuine threat. Revelation of purpose. The Silent Thunder was designed and built specifically to deal with this kind of threat, Chen continued. "Our AI systems, our weapons, our defenses, everything about this ship was created to face predecessor technology. We've been on our way to stop the Harvester before it reaches full activation." "One ship against a machine capable of destroying star systems?" Ralthek asked. "Not one ship," Echo interjected. "One ship with a crew that refuses to accept impossible odds as an excuse for surrender. Humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way." The Silent Thunder was built around that philosophy. Ralthek looked at his tactical display again, seeing the human ship with new eyes, its advanced defenses, its incredible speed, and maneuverability, its AI systems. None of it was designed for conquest or intimidation. It was designed for survival against the kind of threat that could end civilizations. "What do you need from us?" he asked. "Alliance in crisis time," Chen said simply, "and perhaps a bit of trust. We can stop the Harvester, but we'll need to get close to it. And that's going to require every bit of capability this ship has. If you're willing to help, we could use coalition sensor networks to track the machine's awakening process and coordinate our approach." Ralthek made a decision that went against everything his training had taught him. All coalition ships stand down from attack posture, reform into escort formation around the human vessel. "Sir?" his tactical officer asked in confusion. "If Captain Chen is right, we're facing a threat that makes our concerns about human technology look trivial," Ralthek explained. "And if she's wrong, we'll still be in position to stop her if necessary." Over the next several hours, as the combined human coalition force raced toward the awakening Harvester, Ralthek found himself gaining a new respect for human capabilities. The Silent Thunder's crew worked with a precision and determination that impressed even veteran coalition officers. Their AI, Echo, proved to be not a threat but an invaluable coordinator, managing sensor data from 13 different ship designs and creating tactical solutions that no single species could have developed alone. Facing the ancient enemy when they reached the Harvester's location, what they found exceeded their worst fears. The ancient machine was enormous, easily 50 times the size of the largest coalition ship, and covered in energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. It pulsed, with malevolent life, already beginning to extend sensor tendrils toward nearby star systems. "It's more active than we expected," Chen reported. "Echo, what's our window?" "Approximately 4 hours until full activation," the AI replied. "After that point, stopping the Harvester becomes essentially impossible with current resources." The plan that Echo and the Coalition tactical officers developed was desperate and dangerous. The Silent Thunder would use its advanced stealth systems to get close to the Harvester, while Coalition ships provided distraction and sensor support. Once in position, the human ship would attempt to deliver a specialized weapon directly to the machine's core. It was exactly the kind of plan that humans seem to excel at: technically brilliant, tactically sound, and absolutely insane. The final gambit, the battle that followed, would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the moment when humanity proved itself worthy of not just membership in galactic civilization, but leadership within it. The Silent Thunder danced through energy fields that could have destroyed planets, its AI-guided systems adapting in real time to threats that no other species had ever encountered. Coalition ships found themselves working in harmony with human technology, their own capabilities enhanced by Echo's tactical coordination. Species that had been suspicious of artificial intelligence discovered the value of a truly trustworthy AI partner. When the Harvester finally fell silent, its ancient malevolence extinguished by human determination and coalition cooperation, the galaxy had changed. The threat that could have destroyed billions was ended not by superior firepower or ancient wisdom, but by the uniquely human refusal to accept defeat. As the combined fleet began its journey back to Coalition space, Commander Ralthek found himself looking at the Silent Thunder with something approaching awe. The ship that he had been sent to destroy had instead saved his civilization. "Captain Chen," he transmitted, "the Coalition owes humanity a debt that can never be fully repaid." "No debt necessary, Commander," she replied. "We're all part of the same galaxy. When one of us is threatened, we all are. That's what being human means. Standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves, even when the odds seem impossible." Echo's voice added, "The Silent Thunder requests permission to continue its mission. Our sensors indicate 3 more dormant predecessor sites, showing signs of activation. It appears the galaxy may need us again soon." Ralthek smiled, an expression his species rarely shared with outsiders. "Permission granted, Silent Thunder, and know that wherever your mission takes you, you'll have the full support of the Coalition." As the human ship disappeared into the vastness of space, its mission continuing, the Coalition faced a new future. They had learned that strength came not just from unity among the familiar, but from embracing the unexpected capabilities that newcomers brought to their civilization. The Silent Thunder had arrived as a threat and departed as a symbol of hope. In the end, that transformation said everything about both humanity's place in the galaxy and the galaxy's potential for growth. Humanity had not just survived their first major test as galactic citizens, they had set a new standard for what galactic citizenship could mean.